How's it going, PD team? This tutorial is a celebration thank you video for reaching 4,000 watch hours on our channel, so I wanted to personally thank you for the support. If you're new to the channel, there's a Play All playlist where you can binge watch, stay up late at night, and get caught up. Due to popular request, I've decided to make a video on how I built out the oddly satisfying video render that you see, which can be found on Get 75% Faster Render Times in Redshift tutorial. This video will consist of modeling and some animation, and a little bit of extra camera setup. The original concept was done by Stockholm artist Andreas Weinerstedt. I've made some improvements and some small changes, like using an egg instead of a marble. With that being said, let's dive in. Okay, so we're going to start off with the spinner part. So I'm going to go to the star shape and apply that. And with our star shape, we need 4 sides, and I'm going to bring down the inner radius. So I'm going to go to my front view. We're going to round these corners, and I want this to be a little bit steeper. So I'm going to bring my inner radius down to 80, so it's a little bit steeper. You can see the difference. And then I'm going to hit C to convert. Go to my pointer tool, my points tool, select these points on the outer, right click, chamfer, and I'm going to go to 20 centimeters like that. And then if you hit spacebar, it takes you back to your pointer tool, and we can spacebar to switch tools quickly. Paint the inner radius, spacebar again, it takes us to the chamfer again, and we can bring this to something close to 80 like that. So this is our base shape, and that feels good. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to trim these paths. So I'm going to add a rectangle, and I'm going to bring this in, and somewhere around 150 looks good. We want this little bit of overhang to happen, and then we're going to go to our spline mask, drag both of these in, and we'll set our blending mode to and. What that's going to do is it's going to give us the middle part. Next, I'll call this center. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste it. So we have another piece, and we'll call this end. And we're going to disable it so we can see here. We're going to bring this exactly 150 units up, so it's perfectly aligned, and enable it. Now I want a 1 unit gap on this rectangle. So I'm just going to bring this down 1 click. And whatever you do is up to you, but I'd like this little gap in here. Now with both of these selected, we're going to go to our extrude and hold down Alt, adds them both in, and we'll change the depth to 70. Call this one center, call this one end. I want to name my layers as I go. And then what we'll do is we're going to take the end, hold down Alt, it adds it into a cloner group, and we're going to change this from grid to radial, bring the size down all the way, and then we're going to switch the angle here. So the way I remember which one's which, so we want this to spin along the Z. So what I do is, the way I can remember this is the value that's not in here. You can see this one is the only one that doesn't have Z in it. That's how I can kind of remember. And then we need to bring this down to 4 steps. So there's our center shape, and we're going to select both of these and go to caps and set this to 1 unit. And I like bringing this up to 4 just to make sure we have smooth rounding. So there you go. You can see we have a nice little gap between these wood pieces. Call this ends. Next, what we want to do is we want to do the kind of this like rubberized cap that goes around where it has a channel built into it for the marble or the egg to roll along. So I'm going to add a rectangle, set it to 5 on the Y, and the width, we want it to be 70 units because that's how the depth that we have here. So I'll put 70, go to my front view, and we'll convert this, go to our move tool, and we want to turn on snapping, and we want to enable work plane snap. And we'll hit L for changing the anchor point, and we'll drag it down till it snaps like so. And then turn off our anchor point tool, hitting L. And then we're going to copy the star shape. We'll rename the rectangle to profile, change the order, and we're going to add a sweep. Add the star inside. We'll rename the sweep to cap. And what we need to do is we need to go to the details section. So yours is probably going to be closed, and we zero out this from value, and there we go. So there's the cap. Now, if we go to the top, you can see they're offset. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to these 2 pieces, go to the coordinates tab, and type in 72 divided by -2. And that places it perfectly in the middle. So now it's perfect. And then what we can do is you can see there's a little bit of an overhang here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my profile here, disable it, hit 0 to get the marquee selection, and just bring this out. Now I like snapping, so I'm going to go zoom in and go to here and go halfway. That looks good. And there we go. Now let's build out the channel. So we'll go here to the front view, disable, zoom in. And how you do this is up to you. The distance you do here, I'm going to make a small channel. So I'm going to right click, say create point, make sure snapping is turned on, snap 1 here, snap 1 here, and we did 4 across, snap here. Then we'll go to our move tool, select the middle one. And I like bringing this down below the value because when we round this, it's going to lift it up. So I'm going to right click, do chamfer like that. Then I'm going to hit 9 to do the paint selection, select these points, chamfer, and drag a smaller corner like that. Hit E to go to the move tool and enable the cap. And it looks like I made the channel too big, so I'm going to undo that. So with the move tool selected, I'm going to grab this point and bring it into 2. Chamfer again, spacebar again to chamfer, and there we go. Enable the channel, and that looks about right. You can make yours smaller or bigger, it's up to you. So there we go. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a null here, go to my top view, go to the move tool, and I'm going to bring this out so it's in front and change the null shape to a hexagon, an octagon, make it bigger, change it to Z direction. We'll set this to 50, and I like making the material a different color. And then we're going to add all of our elements in, call this spinner, and there we go. So now you can see it's going to spin like this. Now let's add a post. So we're going to add a cylinder, bring it into the Z direction, and we'll set the distance to something like 100. Let's bring it to 120, something like that. And we'll set the radius to 30, and we'll set the segments to something like 45, and we'll bring the segments down on the height. And then on the caps, we'll set it to 4 and 2. You can pick whatever you want for that value, and that's what it's going to spin along. Call this post. We'll add it in our group here, and I'm going to add it below everything so it spins with the spinner. So when we texture it, it'll spin with it. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to build out the wire frame that this stands on. So we'll go here to the helix, and what this is going to do is this is going to be the coil that spins around a couple times to kind of hug this post. Now, this is something that I built out slightly differently than the original creator did. I'll show you the example, the zoom in example right here. So I think my approach is kind of an improvement of the design, and that's just personal opinion. So I'm going to set this to 32 and 32 because it's slightly bigger than our post. And we'll go to the top view and drag this to be slightly in front like that. And then we can bring the height down, and we'll adjust this in a little bit. So next, what I want to do is I want a profile for the wire. So I'll set this to 16 segments, and we'll set this to 2.5. So we'll add a sweep, add our objects in, call this stand, and our null, our end side is facing the wrong direction. So we'll click this, and you can see we zoom in here, we can get the height to be a little closer and bring it forward a little bit. So we'll go zoom in here so it snaps. Actually, I like it here actually. So yeah, that feels about right. Next, what we need to do is we need to get this to unravel to be the right angle. So I'm going to go here and bring this to 20 degrees so that we go at a 20-degree angle off the side. We'll go to this side here, and I'll bring this down to 520. So if I go to the front view, you can see it trims at the same distance here as it does here on this angle. So it hits this box and hits this box grid. Next, I'm going to bring down the segments. So I'll put something like 40 so it's less detailed, and you can get a better idea of the wrapping. So we can bring the height down some. There we go. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to convert this helix. I'm going to hit C to convert to points. I'm going to go here to disabling it, select the first point, go to the front view, zoom out so we can see our grid. And then I'm going to go to the spline pen tool and draw a snap right here, and then hit E to move, go to the top view and drag this down so it lines up like so. Then I'll go to the other side, select the point, go to the front view, go to my pen tool, select this point, hit E to move, and drag this down so it lines up on the grid. And I'm looking to match the angle here of the continuation. Here it doesn't. I'm going to show you how to fix that in a second. Then we're going to take our helix, copy and paste it, go to coordinates and go in the Z direction because we want to scale it and reverse it. Go to the move tool and drag this out to right here. Now to fix this curve, we're going to go to selection here, zoom in. We're going to hit R to rotate, turn off snapping, and you can kind of rotate this just a little bit. We'll do it to the other side. Select the helix point, zoom in. Make sure you grab it on the green axis. You can bring this down a little bit like that. You don't have to be exact with it. You don't really notice it. So that's what we have so far. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take these helixes and merge them together. So we'll select both, right click, say current state of object. So they're one unit. Then we're going to select this point, go to our pen tool, click this point here, and then this point here to merge them. So let's check and see what we got. Drag it below, enable. And there we go. So there's the stand. Now we want to add some nice rounding at the base, which is good, which will make it look nice. And you can see we don't have any kinks in this. So we'll go here to the disable. I like seeing the points. Hit 0 to select marquee. Select these bottom ones. Right click, chamfer, and do to taste. I'm going to go with something like something close to 12 like that, and then enable, and there we go. There's the stand. Now you can do selected lines going across as well. In my example, I did connector lines. I just did another selection and moved the point to exactly its position to make the cross sections. Not necessary, but there you go. There's the stand. So I'm going to take this stand and group it. So I'm going to click null, go to my move tool, bring it down here, and snap it to the base. Turn on snapping, make sure point snap is enabled, and snap it right to the ground like that. Then we'll zoom out a little bit, snap it to the middle here. And I'll call this stand, add the stand in. Then I want the spinner to be in this exact same spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group the stand. So I'm going to alt click the null, call this oddly, and add my spinner in. Then I can move this up and down, and it's always going to be at the 0. So there you go. There's the stand and the spinner. Let's go ahead and model the egg next. So I'm going to add a sphere, and I'm not worried about the size right now. I'm just doing the shape. So I'm going to turn on edge mode. So NB, I'm going to bring these segments to something like 45. So it's a little bit more detailed. We'll go to our front view. We'll add a FFD. So if I hold shift, it adds it as a child. Hit fit to parent. And I like setting these 1 unit larger than the fit to parent size just to avoid clipping. We'll bring these down to 2, and the middle slices vertically going to 3. And then all you do is you hit 0 to marquee select, drag the top and bring it up to what looks best. I can turn off my oddly satisfying so I can see and turn off the FFD, check, and that feels pretty good. I'm gonna increase the sphere to 60 so it has a little bit more smoothing at the top, and there we go, there's our egg. We can go back to our FFD and pull it up more if we want, and that feels right. So I'm gonna call this egg. I'm gonna make another null, call it archive, drag it below and turn it off so it's not visible. And I like changing the folder icon, so this one here. And then we're gonna click on our egg and then right click and go to current state of object, drag our original egg into the archive. And we can disable these. So here's our egg ready to go. Now, this is not the correct size. I'm gonna have to scale it to the correct size and kind of play with it to get it to roll correctly. It's all dependent on how big this has to travel, the length that this has to travel. It needs to be relatively close. So I'll show you how to fix that. So let's go ahead and move this egg up and we'll scale it down. So I'm gonna hit T to transform, hold shift. After I initiate the scale, I'm gonna bring it to something like 60%, 55% to start off with. Let's do 50%. And then I'm gonna go to my front view here and drag it so there's just a teeny little gap like that, because we're going to have dynamics buffer margins. So next, to get this to spin correctly, what we need to do is we're going to go to our egg and we're going to right click on it and go to rigging tags and protection. And we want a protection tag on this because we don't want this moving in any other direction other than Y and rotating in the B, the banking, so it'll spin like a propeller on a plane. And then we're going to be adjusting the scale, so we'll uncheck those as well. So it's forcing this egg to only move up and down and spin. So what we'll do is we'll go to the spinner here, we'll bring up our keyframes, and we're going to extend our timeline out to 240 frames. And what this does is this gives us 8 slots to complete the animation. So 1 twist, 1 twist, 1 twist, and 1 twist. So each animation is going to be 60 frames to complete. So I'm going to go to the spinner and we're going to loop the animation. So add a keyframe on its banking and then go to frame 20 and add a keyframe. So these ones are hold keyframes. And then we're going to go to 40 and rotate it -90 degrees. Add a keyframe, and then we'll go to frame 60 and add another keyframe. And then we select the spinner, so all the keyframes are selected, and we're going to go to constant. We're going to change this to offset repeat, and we'll do it 3 more times. So it's going to repeat perfectly while offsetting 90 degrees each time it goes through this. So let's go ahead and play it. And there we go. So there's that. And now I want this to kind of have a bounce to it and work on the easing. So I'm going to go here to the keyframe adjustment. Frame up these keyframes here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a keyframe right in the middle here. So I'm going to hold down Alt. And I'm going to drag this up just a teeny bit. And take this keyframe and overshoot. Like so. And let's see what we get. Now I want this keyframe here to be a little bit less intense. So I'm going to drag it down. There we go, that feels about right. Go back to our standard view, our dope sheet, and you want to remember these keyframes. So we have 20 and 40 is our main animation here. So then we're going to go to our egg, go to frame 0, add a keyframe on 0 and 0, go to 20, add a keyframe. And then when it gets to 40, it will have spun 360 degrees. Like so. And then we'll go to the end here and add a keyframe on the rotation and the position. And we need one right here on the Y as well. So we have keyframes here, and then we're going to go to the middle point and drag this down. Now I'm going to go to the front view here and drag this a little bit below, like it's intersecting, and have the keyframe in here so you can see what it's doing. Like that. Then we're going to select the egg keyframes. So I'm going to select the word egg, go here to constant, and we're going to go to offset repeat and do 3 more times. Let's check our work. And that looks pretty good. So next what we're going to do is we're going to take our spinner, I'm at frame 0, and I'm going to take this cap and duplicate it. And this is going to be my collider. So I'm going to turn off the original cap and go in here to the star and change it to adaptive to subdivided so we get more segments. In the profile, I'm going to reduce the angles. Now this is not visible, so we can go kind of low with it, something like that. And I'll call this collider, turn off its visibility in the render, turn this one back on. And this collider, we're going to right click and go to bullet tags, collider body. And on the collision, we're going to change it from individual elements to none and off. And we're going to also change this to moving mesh because it's animated. I'm going to bring down the bounce. Friction, I'm going to set to 200. And the collision noise, I'm going to set to 0 because we want this to be perfect every time. Now for the fun part, the egg. So what we'll do is we're going to right click on the egg, go to bullet tags, rigid body, change it to individual elements off and off. Our shape, we're going to do to moving mesh, change the bounce to 0, set this to 150 on the friction and 0 collision noise. And then if I play this, it's going to bounce and fall and collide through it. So what we want to do is, here's where the magic happens. We're going to go to the force tab and we're going to bring these follow positions and follow rotations up to 20. And I'm going to bring the dampening to 10 and 10 on the rotation dampening. Let's try this out. Next, what I want to do is I want to get this to not appear like it's falling as much. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do Control D and we're going to go to our settings and go to bullet and we're going to change the collision margin to 0.5 because right now it feels like it's floating a little bit. So I'm going to go to the side view here, zoom in, and just go 1 frame forward. And you can see we're like ever so slightly below this margin. So instead of changing the margin here, which you'd think you'd want to do, if it gets too close of a value, it starts kind of glitching out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the egg, go to the keyframes, select the egg, go to position Y, and remember where that's at. So you can see it's too low. So I'm going to select these keyframes, zoom in on the height, and drag these upwards. Somewhere around there. So let's go 1 frame forward. There we go. That's close enough. You can play with those values, get it closer. The closer you get it, the less it's going to glitch. So we'll wait till the last frame. So we can give this one a couple more frames to resolve. There we go. There we go. So I can take this egg, place it in the group here so it's locked in, and then I can build out the podium. So I'm going to go and click a cube, set this to 250 by 50 and 250 and bring it up. And bring this up 50 units. So it's right on the ground. There we go. There's the podium that it sits on. And I think I gave it a nice rounding of 2 units, 1 extra fillet. And there we go. There's the animation. And you can build out the podium that it sits on. There's like a spinning disc with grass. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on a second. So you've made it this far. Clearly, you're enjoying the content. Would you consider clicking the thanks button on this video to help grow the channel's community so I can make more great content just for you? Any amount is greatly appreciated. If money is tight right now, then do me a favor and just smash that like button immediately. Now to the video. One thing I want to mention is if yours rolls and lands on its side, it's either too big or too small. So if it lands where it's tilting this way, where the base of it is out here, it means your egg is too big. And if it's tilting here, where the base of it is sitting off this edge, it's too small. So I happen to scale it the correct size, which was 50. But if you notice here, when it lands on the last bit, it's not quite perfect. So I'll be able to tell you right now that this needs to be scaled. See how it's sticking out? So to fix this, what we do is we go back and we scale this. So I'm going to hit T to transform, just bring it a little bit smaller like that. And then I'm going to go to my keyframes for the position, go to my curve editor, select these top keyframes, go to my profile view here and drag this back down like that. And now you'll see that it does a better job of rolling. I want to talk about camera angles. So I'm going to go ahead and add a camera. And the camera that I used was an 85mm. So if I plug in 85 here, which is a common cinema lens, click and activate, we can then zoom out and we get this nice compression. And I went a little higher like that. Now this design is more geared towards a square render. So if I go here to 1280 by 1280, you can see we get a lot more space to play with. So that's my camera angle that I did. Before we finish up this tutorial, I wanted to address one thing, and that is getting this egg to land perfectly every time. You might run into some troubles. I want to mention, if you've been using my values on creating the star shape every time on each of the segments, if you set your egg to 118.536 on the scale, which is the Y, that height will get you pretty darn close. So if I play this, I was able to get it to land perfectly in a loop. So here it comes. Right here's the loop. So not a big jump. So if you set your egg to 118.53 on the height, when you scale it, you bring up this value by just clicking this button and it brings your coordinates, select the egg, and then use your transform and scale it in the viewport to this size. It should give you the correct loop. But if it doesn't, I've got another example that I'll show you how to fix it. So here in this example, I've got the egg looping, and you're gonna see there's quite a big jump. So I could tweak this and get this to land sooner, but you see its rotation value snaps. So I'll let it play again so you can see it. There it is. So what we can do to fix this issue is we can take the egg and go to the Dynamics tab, go back to frame 0 and bake it. Now that it's baked, you can see here, there's a big difference between this one and this one. See that rotation? So what we can do, the height is actually fine. It's just the rotation. So you see it doesn't jump up and down. With this tag, you select the egg, and when we go to the end here, you'll see that its rotation value is almost at 1. So what we'll do is we want to get this value to land at 1440. And how I got to that value is if you take 360 and times it by 4, it flips 4 times. So 360 times 4 is 1440. So what we can do is we can bring up our keyframe editor, and with the egg selected, I like doing this at frame 0, we'll go to functions and we're going to bake the object. And when we bake this, you want to make sure that you have bake expressions, create copy, remove tag, and clean tracks, and then you want to make sure you have this all parameters selected. If you don't do that, it's not going to work. So you click it, and there you go. You've got your keyframes baked out. So I'm going to take my original, turn it off in the viewport and in the render, and this copy is our new deal. So what we can do is if I come here, you can see it's almost at 1440 when it lands. So what we can do is we can take this and type in 1440, hit enter, add the keyframe, and then I'm going to take the last, so maybe like 5 keyframes and just delete them. And then what it's going to do is it's going to transition to that. So now if I go back and forward, you can see it's perfect. So I'll go ahead and play it so we can see. And there we go, we don't have a jump. And if your position is the same, you can also do the same trick for the height. So you just copy the value from the first frame and paste it into the last. And there we go. So now it's perfectly looping with a sloppy roll. You can see it overshoots sometimes, it's kind of tilted. So here it's really tilted. See, it's really tilted. And there it's tilting the other way. And there it goes. So there you go. There's the looping animation using the keyframes. I hope this tutorial gives you insights of how you can make your own oddly satisfying video. That's it for this tutorial. I hope you found this useful. Thanks so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on more content. Thanks for your support.